Welcome to Deep Dive Film School. I'm Adam Sherlock.
And I'm Adam Pulcher.
And if you like what you see/hear, please like and subscribe. You can find us in all the spaces and places that people what?
Find good media. That's right. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Those are our most active channels. You can also follow me, Adam Pulcher, at Letterboxd. I'm very active on there as well, so please join us in all the spaces and places.
Mm-hmm.
All right, our fourth installment of a Peter Greenaway Festival, 1982, his first feature film.
Yes.
Although he did many shorts and
Yes.
TV stuff before this, so he definitely knew what he's doing. Obviously, as we talk about this, we'll get into some of the things that we saw. It's funny to see him in more of like a film student vibe little bit, where he doesn't quite know everything he wants to do yet, not really taking all the risks that he did in maybe something like Drowning by Numbers or whatever. Like
and how
like
quickly he evolved up to that, right? Like he went to that level like within a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, we're covering all the 80s shit basically for Greenaway.
But this definitely still has a lot of the staples that we come to know from his other films. His framing techniques, lots of frames
static
within
shots.
frames, static shots.
One thing I noticed, someone being commissioned to do something for someone else. That's what Belly of the Architect was about.
That's right.
The cook, the thief, the wife, and his lover.
That's right.
So he loves artists being commissioned to these, going to maybe some unbeknownst place to do their art, and really interesting. Just what a fucking Draughtsmen is. Like, it's kind of interesting, but what a kind of a cool job to have back in the day.
Totally. Well, and I think that if you think about, there is something really interesting about this era where, the idea of like land and property was such
wealthy.
That was such like a way to show status.
Oh, I mean, when this starts and the way they're dressed and talking, I'm like, this has to be about class warfare before I even start it.
Well, and it's interesting too, because I think
costumes are just insane.
Well, and Greenaway has always done these really interesting movies where you could look you could look at it on its face and it's about one thing, and if you don't know the subtext, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
It is one movie, and then if you know the subtext, there's all these extra little pieces.
This is billed as a comedy, by the way.
And it's really interesting that it's billed as a comedy, and I guess it's only, and we've talked about this before with Greenaway, like he's subverting so many different tropes.
It's true.
That it's like any one of his movies has a little bit of comedy and then has weird drama.
This one is like just richly exaggerated 17th century England, right?
It's the Jacobean era, which is right after Elizabethan era.
Queen
after
Elizabeth II died just before this time.
Yep, and
right?
so it's King James, or which is they then called Jacobean, and so it's like all of the sort of aristocracies and these ideas of wealth that were really like played with a lot more humor, I think, during Shakespeare's era.
Sure.
Actually weirdly became even darker. The literature and art became even sort of darker in the Jacobean era, and so it's really interesting. And it's something that always creeps me out. Like the whole introduction, the bookending of the beginning and ending of this movie, which is different than the center of the movie because it weirdly looks like a play. Like everything's lit by candlelight, and it's black all around them. Like you can't tell where they're at, and all of these different characters, especially these freaking twins that I hate so much, with their weirdly powdered, almost clown faces and their huge wigs.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking George Washington wigs and shit.
It scares the shit out of me.
Something about 3 feet tall.
Yes.
And I'm like, those wigs with that much candlelight, you guys better be fucking careful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There has to be like a story of a fire on set that someone's wig got.
There had to have been. And it's so, well, and apparently the original version.
It seems like close.
The original version of this movie
was 3 hours.
Yeah, right? It was over 3 hours long. And this intro, like Greenaway,
just showing the erudite English.
And you talked about this. I love you said the film school nerd thing. Greenaway, the beginning of this film is like a half an hour long in this candlelit sequence because he wanted it to have every character talk to another character, and you saw each one of them talk to somebody else.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't have to do that. It's not necessary.
That's what the rest of the movie's for.
Yeah, exactly. But it is beautiful. It looks like it reminded me of Barry Lyndon.
I saw a lot of comparisons for that. The only other thing I can think that is a lot of natural light is something like Eggers the Witch or something, but that's obviously way more modern than this.
Yeah.
But I do love just the erudite just sequencing for a little bit. It is fun watching them just try and live their lives. And, you know, even that one woman, I can't remember her role exactly, but she's like, I used to pee like a horse, I still do.
That's right. That's right.
That was definitely not an English accent, but still, like, just these kind of silly lines, and you're like, what am I watching?
Well, and it's and then you start to realize that you have
they're trying to hire Mr. Neville.
Yeah, and you realize that Mr. Neville is, you know, I think it's this interesting like pre-bohemian idea of like you have the wealthy.
And he's getting snapshots of that, right?
Yep. And then you have the artists. And the artists aren't at the level of nobility of the wealthy, but they do get to be entertained in a certain way because they have means that these other people don't. And so, again, in this aristocracy is to say, like, well, my land is worth, Mr. Herbert's land is worth, like, you know, all of these accolades. This is pre-photography, so how do we see it? Yeah. Well, a draftsman is how you see it, right?
Yeah.
Now, I do think it's worth noting here that
What a bold choice for your first movie, though.
And the reason why, where the idea, and again, we know Greenaway writes as well as directs all his films. Mm-hmm. He got the idea because he was a draughtsman, and he was doing a commission for somebody, and he was doing the drawing when he came up with the idea of using this as the sort of, linchpin for this sort of murder mystery idea for this film. And it's wild to think that all of these incredibly intricate drawings that sort of make up the different chapters of this movie, those are Greenaway's hands drawing those drawings.
It is.
Those are his drawings.
They are. Mm-hmm. Interesting. I did not know that. I did read into some of what he did in his original attempts to paint a house or draw a house that he rented for vacation. And this is where he got the idea of, like, I'm going to be in this location from 5 to 7. I'm going to be in this location from 3 to 5 or whatever. Not only is that smart, because he found that the shadows changed so much that it was hard to get real perspective, which is, of course, makes a ton of sense. And he's commissioned to do 12 drawings, right? 8 pounds each or something like that. And, they argue about the contract, and you can't afford my exorbitant fees and terms and negotiations. And, it ends up being more than just the money, more than just the money or just the drawings. But the way that he does the drawings is so fascinating. And, we get the POV through the frames, which you would see on like a camera these days. Yeah, if you wanted
with those those like strings or wires.
Think of rule of thirds, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we're talking about here, and we get to see the POV of that, which I thought was really interesting. I hadn't really seen that a lot, and he just sets up these ridiculous shots on this massive, beautiful property. And I think Southampton is where they're at, but the husband's going to be gone for like 14 days. So this is like a gift to kind of rekindle their relationship.
Because they're definitely there's some lack of romance in their lives, and you have Mrs. Herbert.
It's Herbert, it's Mr. Herbert, Mrs. Herbert.
Yep.
And this is like a gift to her, but he basically says you can't afford me and tries to negotiate the price and ends up, saying, well, I think they legally say it. Meet with Mr. Neville personally for his own satisfaction. Or something
whatever.
Along those lines. And then the next scene, she's puking up semen. So.
Other duties as assigned. She's puking up semen. Oh, God, no kidding. Yeah, and it's really interesting because and we talk about this with this whole festival, like Greenaway loves his sex scenes.
But again, this I know I've said it a bunch, but he always shows the before and the after. Mm-hmm. He never shows the actual sex.
Right. And usually the people are really enjoying themselves. This is one of the few times where you're like, oh, these are really uncomfortable.
The first time it happens, you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like he's like weirdly undressing her, but kind of in a funny way, but you're like, what?
And she's not into it. And it's not, this isn't sexual assault or anything like that, but because they've come up with this deal. But I thought it was really interesting because at first I was like, oh, is this going to be like a sort of tittillating, like, Mr. Neville comes in here and does this thing. And instead it was like, okay, what is the point? Like, why would, because I think the other thing worth noting is that Mr. Neville is a younger, roguish, good-looking. The actor is Anthony Higgins, who played Moriarty in Young Sherlock Holmes. I don't know if you spotted him. I knew him the second I saw him.
Oh, that's funny. I was going to say I didn't really know any of these actors. I did see that Higgins was a bad guy in Raiders of the Lost Ark. That was about all I could find.
But you know, I think she's a little bit older. So at first I was like, oh, is this going to be like he's becomes her yeah, or like something like, yeah,
they're looking for an heir
and so it took a minute, well, it actually took more than a minute to figure out like who's doing what here, because you're like, okay, so he's made this like roguish deal where he gets to sleep with her, and you're like, but then there's all these people, there's all the servants, there's Mrs. Herbert, and then Mrs. Herbert's daughter,
Mrs. Talman,
and
her husband, who's a complete douche.
Yeah, and so you're like,
son-in-law.
Yeah, and so you're like, what?
He's supposed to be the heir,
right? And you're like, what is happening? Who's manipulating who? I guess
it's true.
You don't know for a while.
I agree. It definitely takes a minute to unravel and figure out what exactly. Even when you see what's going on, and you know, seeing Talman standing in the way, and he ends up drawing him into the thing. And just kind of how he goes about the contract, and how Greenaway is telling this story, because the whole idea of the different times of day, not only is that a way to get a consistent picture over the 12 days or whatever it is, but it's also a way to have no witnesses when they meet together.
That's right.
And it took me a minute to figure that out.
Where he's like, no one can come around this area at this time.
Yes. And so they're by themselves. It's easy to get into the sexual relations without feeling like they're being watched, I guess.
Another thing that I noticed with this film that gave me a lot of additional thoughts about Greenaway's style is that even from this very first movie, he loves having a voiceover. And he loves having a voiceover that kind of distinguishes a chapter in the movie or a sequence in the movie, right? And so doing this here of like naming the different locations, but the naming protocol is not, it's not Mr. Neville telling us, it's Mr. Neville like telling internally this audience. And we saw it with the letter writing in Belly of an Architect.
Yep.
We saw it with the dinner sequencing in The Cook the Thief. We saw it with these weird rules that the little boy had in Drowning by Numbers. It's like each one of these, he uses those to sort of break things up. And it's so funny because we've talked so much about how Greenaway's, whether it's even an obvious influence or not, I've never seen something this old, like from like 82, that is evoking things that we see nowadays in movies all the time. Like that, of having like breaking up these chapters in these particular ways and using like a voiceover to distinguish some like really sort of heightened reality. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's setting up the rules through the voiceover, absolutely. And
that's kind of what means that that did, not to cut you off, but what that did is that even though we were wondering who's manipulating who, what is it that we're watching that's going to happen here?
Who's this naked guy running around?
Who's the naked guy running around covered in gray? But it was still all interesting because we're like, he's going to pull all this together somehow.
Yeah.
And so it's fascinating to watch, even if I don't know exactly what's going on quite yet.
Yeah, I think when I watched this, I don't think I knew it was his first movie until I did some research. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense.
It's a great-looking first film.
It's true. I mean, it's really amazing. It's really well done. You know, and Mrs. Herbert at a point gets to a point where she just can't keep cheating on her husband, right? And they talk a lot of shit on Mr. Herbert, and he's never there to defend himself either. We get like a snapshot of him, and you know, no one seems to necessarily like him very much,
right?
And you also get this Mr. Noise, who is kind of this weird in-between guy who helps them, but has been promised to Mrs.
He's like
Mrs. Herbert, and that's probably where some infidelity has happened before.
He's also contract guy.
Yes, but he's also kind of the lawyer, so he knows that they're sleeping together. And so
he's being a little cuckolded, and
but you know, she wants to void the contract.
Yeah,
and she's like, you know, I'm voiding the contract. He's like, well, you need my signature.
Right.
I'm not going to do that.
Now, the other thing that's interestingly happening here is that he's getting into these little quibbles with servants because he wants the area clear. He makes it very, stated, where he's like, I don't want any any articles of clothing, any other like that. I want them gone. And instead, it's like, in this shot of the house here, there's this blanket. In this shot over here, there's this ladder. And he's kind of like, well, why is that there? And then eventually
the ladder
he's like,
wasn't there the first 2 days.
Right. And so eventually he's like, well, if you're not going to move it, I'm not going to move it. So I guess I'm putting it in here. Right. Mm-hmm. And so all these drawings start to have all these little things in it. It has Mr. Herbert's boots in one sequence. It has
a towel strewn on a bush.
Yeah. And none of them, again, to us, we're kind of like, well, I don't know what that means. Once those pieces all get pulled together, it's actually a deeply clever,
brilliant
setup for Mr. Neville, which I think is like, I didn't see that coming. I didn't know that that's where this movie was headed.
No.
And it was actually very fun to kind of see the twist because I didn't see it
It's
coming.
true, because the first half I was trying to just figure out what was happening, right?
And he seems like he's kind of the lecherous one. Just like everybody else is dressed.
Well, he's taking advantage of the women in the house.
He's the only one who doesn't wear a wig. He's always dressed all in black. Like, you just make these assumptions about him, and it isn't until he goes away, and I'm jumping around a little bit, but he goes away, and then when he comes back is when you're suddenly like, I remember just having a different attitude about him. He didn't seem quite as swaggering and cool. Like, he kind of seemed like a little puppy dog that really wanted to bed Mrs. Herbert again, right?
Well, it ends up being Mrs. Tallman, her daughter, renegotiates a contract, and now she can sleep with him.
Yeah.
And so they kind of switch it up, so his mom's not sleeping with him anymore. It's her.
It's his daughter. It's her daughter, and the daughter likes it. The daughter's actually into it.
She seems like she wants it more.
And it's because her husband sucks.
Yeah, he sucks. He's through this whole thing. He's supposed to be the heir. He's the son-in-law. And, he talks shit at dinner. He's the one who talks about artists being, lesser than.
Yeah, they're
the jesters of the 17th century.
It's like, dude, have you seen your wig?
Yeah,
and also
totally.
that guy, he reminds me of, I don't know, Hugh Laurie that played House on like when Hugh Laurie used to be on Blackadder, and he would always play like the king. That's exactly what that dude seems like, just like the prissiest with those like white knickers with the big buckles on the front of the shoes, like, ooh, like just the most.
Man, the wardrobe and costumes are so ridiculous,
and they're incredible looking though. My God,
they look amazing, and it's a sight to be seen. But I'm just like, how the fuck did anyone ever dress like that?
And I don't know that anybody ever actually dressed exactly like that. Sure, it was definitely a heightened version, but still,
of course, close,
based upon real things.
Maybe the wigs weren't 3 feet tall,
right?
But I think it was pretty damn close.
Everything looks like that, though. There's so many rooms in this house where just the setting, like the wallpaper and the color of the drapes, again, brings back something like Belly of an Architect, where it's just like, there's rooms that almost look gory. They're like so red. You know what I mean? Like,
he loves the deep reds.
Yeah,
sure.
Always has. Like,
but yeah, I mean, this movie has so many layers, and it unknowingly, like we're talking about here, kind of drops clues without really explaining everything, and it's totally fine without explaining it to you, right?
Yeah.
And it wants you to kind of try and figure out what's going on. The camera never moves.
Yep.
Outside of a few tracking shots, I think. It's seriously it's static the whole time.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's interesting. The what did he say? So he said the camera retains, like the Draughtsmen's, a steady, uncommitted, observant eye, as interested in the texture of fabric, the gloom of candlelight, the wind in the elm trees, as in the demeanor of the corpse or the discomfort of a victim of sexual coercion.
Wow.
So Greenaway said that in talking about the camera work inside of that on a press tour for the movies.
I think that's so real, because that was the thing I noticed, and you mentioned it earlier, and it does become a trope in Greenaway's work, but this, and you're talking, we were talking specifically about like pre and post coital, right? But
yeah.
But that also, we've seen it in the case of murder. In some of his movies, we've seen it in the case of assault. It's rare that he shows the event. He shows, again, sort of like Ozu, he shows a before and after, right? If there's a moment of action, he'd rather sit in a room with some characters and have them talk about it.
And it's funny, I wonder if that's why Michael Gambon is so disgusting in King, a Thief, Wife and the Deliverer, because he does show his actions.
Yeah, we see him stab a fork into somebody's face.
Yeah.
That's one of the only times. Yeah, we only see overt violence.
But it's true, but like that could be why that movie is so effective, but pretty interesting.
It's interesting that he, in that what you were talking about there in that interview, he actually names a thing that I had been thinking about because, that Draughtsman's like frame with the little
steady, uncommitted, observant eye.
Well, it's it almost feels, Haneke always talked a lot about the idea of like who the observer is, right? And the audience is the observer and the camera is the observer, and so therefore they're complicit. And it's almost like Greenaway is doing that, but almost in reverse, which is we're only going to see whatever the Draughtsman sees, right? Yeah. That's all that we're going to see. So the entire machinations, this plot against Mr. Neville, this entire conspiracy that's taking place, we're as in the dark for it as Mr. Neville is, because we only ever see what Mr. Neville sees as the guy that's drawing the picture. And I was like, that's a really brilliant way to let all of these other things happen, and you just get these little bits of it. Like you don't ever follow Mrs. Herbert away and see what she's doing. Great point. Like we don't see anybody conspiring against Mr. Neville.
Well, Mr. Neville, yes. I'm sorry, not Mr. Neville. I'm sorry,
Mr. Herbert.
Mr. Herbert. Is that's kind of the twist that we get, is that after a week or 10 days, they're like, I don't know if he's coming back. Somebody found his horse out in the middle of nowhere, and you're like, oh wait, so he's dead?
So he hasn't been gone this whole time? Like where?
Or he has been, but he's not coming back.
Yeah, he's not coming back.
So then Mr. Noyes starts getting a little worried that he's going to be accused of his murder and all of this stuff, and it is this big conspiracy. And it's funny, I wrote down that it turns into Knives Out before Knives Out became a thing.
Totally.
Like you're just like, whoa, we're wrapped in a murder mystery now.
Yeah.
And all these pieces that were in front of us the whole time are coming together.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh. And basically what Noyes describes in the paintings is that he sees in his paintings all these little details of infidelity with her.
Yep. Yeah.
And so, like, if he sees these pictures, he's gonna know what's that doing there. What's that doing there?
Why did who used that ladder to climb up into the daughter's bedroom. And it's like. Yeah. And those are his boots. Why are they all the way up here on this hill? Like it's like so Neville has inadvertently created his own game of Clue.
Yes.
Right? Like that points directly back to himself. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, you're right about the Knives Out thing. I mean, the other thing I would say is that, the twist in this movie, the last 10 minutes of this movie suddenly turns into that spooky scene from Eyes Wide Shut. Mm-hmm. It's like all of a sudden there's all the noblemen show back up in masks with knives, and you're like, oh shit! Like, this isn't one or two people.
This is after he comes back.
Yeah, like everybody's out to get him, and I think it's the whole setup.
Well, he's supposed to be the heir, right?
Right. Well, and the idea that Mrs. Herbert, is like he's very smitten with her now, even though before he was like. Yeah, he was very forceful with her and gross, and she didn't like him. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, like, he's come back for the funeral, and now, like, she seems, like she's kind of like, maybe we could get it on one more time. And he's again, he goes from being like this swaggering dude to being like, really, we can, like, you're just like. Something bad is about to happen. Like the power dynamics have shifted dramatically, and you can feel it in the air.
It's funny. Greenaway knows how to use the power of the pussy.
They really do.
Like you think of you think of drowning by numbers. Same with the Cook, the Thief, his wife and his like. Men
just fall all over themselves.
It's true. Like do whatever you want, but if you take that away, then they go crazy.
His movies are really
powerful women, though.
They have a very feminist streak to them, which I think is lovely, and it's something.
It's funny because Almodovar kind of had a similar thing with the women in his movies.
Yeah, and you're like, and the men they're not always idiots, but they definitely make poor choices.
They're not good people.
Well, they're thinking below the belt.
Yeah, for sure.
Far and away, they're thinking below the belt.
Yeah. But, these ladies have this all set up. And, they're the murderers for losing their fortune to her husband, right?
Yeah.
And they need an heir, a person to pin it on.
Well, and they need, and then they also need to, what did I read it in Wikipedia, they describe it as Mr. Neville became their stud, right? Because
he was an accessory, kind of like how he was. That's what they describe him as the artist was an accessory.
Right, exactly. Because
that's kind of what he ends up being for the two ladies as well, because they know what's going on the whole time.
Well, and Mr. Talman, again, super prissy, is not.
Oh, he finds out about
he's not taking his wife to bed, right? So like there is no heir. So they got to stud out Mr. Neville in order to get her pregnant.
Noise kind of lets him know, like, hey, look at those drawings and tell me what's happening there.
Oh, yeah.
And he figures it out and confronts her, and then she has the best comebacks, and he is just like speechless.
That argument's incredible.
So good.
Yeah.
Might be one of the best written parts of the movie.
Totally. Well, and I love the seduction sequence between her and Mr. Neville. We have that long, again, one of his long, beautiful shots with all of those little pine trees down that pathway. And every time that she enters the frame, she's taken off another piece of clothing and hung it on the tree. And it's
in the frame, it looks so cool.
It's so cool.
Yeah, no, and it's just sexy. And he's playing around. And I mean, he's definitely having fun. He's not innocent in here. Actually, at some point, I think they say, your innocence is sinister.
Right, exactly.
At one point, and I'm like, damn, that's a good line.
Yeah.
Last thing I'll say about the ending here is that, he does get approached by all these masked men, but he also calls them all out. He's like, hey, it's Noise and it's Talisman. And he calls everyone out because they do
descend
turn on him and
yeah.
burn all of his drawings and his eyes.
Oh, dude, yeah.
And just like leave him in this thing with the horse there and everything. Pretty much how we assume that Mr. Herbert got it from these same people.
Let's talk for a second about the living statue.
That was my last thing I was gonna hit on, is this naked man.
So apparently in the 3-hour-long version, there's a couple other really interesting things that happen.
Okay.
He
makes more sense in the director's cut.
Well, there's like, I don't even know that it makes more sense, but it's like Greenaway's he's swinging big. Like, there's things in the 3-hour-long version where at one point someone uses a cordless phone. There's a sequence where there's pieces of modern art on the wall. Like he purposely creates these anachronisms and that there is some kind of an explanation about who the living statue is. And I was like, well, I'm glad that you took out the other anachronisms because you didn't need it. Like that's just kind of goofy. It kind of fills up. It pointlessly makes the movie more whimsical than it needs to be, which I don't think it needs to be.
Yeah.
The living statue, for whatever reason, I love that there's no other explanation for it. And it feels very Greenaway.
Oh, it totally does. And just him, like on these big, he loves the big shot of the dinner table. And
Last Supper.
The Last Supper shot in front of the big house or some part of the big part of the house. And you see him like sneaking around on the roof.
Yeah. and then he's in the very last shot where and
does everyone see that?
He holds still. I know, right? Well, and he holds still in the very last shot of the movie for so long that you think he might not be, that it might actually be a statue until he climbs down from the horse, and you're like, oh no, that was him too.
Yeah. But he's like removing things in the scenes and replacing.
He's like
himself.
waving to the little kid, and the little kid's waving at him.
Like I love it. It's ridiculous and odd, but I do love it.
Yeah, and it doesn't. Yeah. And I'm like, in a Greenaway film, like at some point, like, you know what else is never explained? The weird guy that chokes and dies really early on in Belly of the Architect, while his wife is being hit on by the Italian guy. On the same couch they're on, a man falls down and dies.
That's right.
And they ignore him. And I'm like, what was that about? And you're like, that's Greenaway. Like, he's just going to be like, you know what this scene needs? A living statue.
The final shot of this movie is the naked statue guy eating pineapple, I think. But it took me a while. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? It took me a minute, and it took me a few days thinking about this movie to be like, what is he trying to say there? And throughout the movie, all of these guys are rich from fruit trees, right? This is how they make their money.
Okay, yes.
And, even Noyes asks for a couple orange trees. Or maybe it's Neville who asked for that. He's almost kind of bribing them, like, hey, give me a couple orange trees.
Oh, and then he brings the pomegranate. But there's all these...
Yeah, they talk about fruit a lot in this movie, and there's a big... that's symbolic here, that she's offering him. But there's also this huge Garden of Eden reference, and then bringing up religion and the forbidden fruit and all of this. So... but he takes a bite and it's kind of like disgusting, and he spits it out. I'm like, that's fucking genius. It took me forever to kind of understand what he's trying to say, but once I did, I was just like, oh my God.
Well, it is really fascinating too to be like, and
actually this fruit's gross.
Yeah, like this thing that has created all this wealth for all these people.
And that's why they're, there in the first place, killing him with masks on, because they don't want to lose their fortunes.
Right, exactly. Oh, that's so funny.
But the bad fruit of the bad forbidden fruit, it didn't taste good.
That is so funny. Yeah, you're right. The fruit through the whole thing, I love that. It makes me wonder if there's even a deeper, because I couldn't find anything, but the deeper meaning of the living statue, maybe, and maybe it has something to do with what
I'm sure in a longer form it may have had more meaning, but
or even going back to what we talked about before of like what the frame holds is all the context that we get, and anything additional doesn't matter because it didn't happen here, right?
Yeah.
Fascinating film. God, again, like
really
I said,
good.
If this is the only movie that you make and then your plane does a full, like, Leonard Skinner into the side of the mountain, it's like, shit, dude, like that's a hell of a first attempt. So,
but what a fascinating directorial debut.
Yeah.
And again, there's a lot of the same themes, a lot of same styles that we see throughout his other work, especially since we're mostly doing the 80s. He definitely keeps a lot of these trends. I love he doesn't really use the same actors though. We haven't really seen a repeat actor yet.
Mm-mm.
So I a lot of times when we do these directors, they find the people they work with, or like
their cast of characters.
Samuel L. Jackson was made to read Tarantino's dialogue, right? So there are actor director relationships, but he doesn't really seem to rely on that too much, which is pretty interesting. And yeah, I don't know. I love this movie, though. I thought it was so good.
It's so good. Each one has its own vibe. Again, I just can't get over the fact that that's Greenaway's hand drawing those illustrations.
I didn't know that until you said that's wild. I did not know that. I was wondering who was doing the drawings, but I did not see that in my research. That's interesting.
It's crazy.
Well, we are going to continue this with an extra one because we have loved Greenaway so much. So we are going to do a forgotten gem of a Zed and Two Knots.
Yes.
Which is the one movie that you had seen. I guess you'd seen Drowning by Numbers
too. Those are the two that I knew of Greenaway.
Before we started.
And it's probably the one that reminds me the most of Drowning by Numbers.
Okay. Well, I'm very excited. I have seen it, but it's been a while, and it's the only one I have seen because we reviewed it 12 years ago, something like that.
Probably
a long time ago.
More like 15.
Yeah. We've been doing this a while, folks. But please like and subscribe. You can find us in all the places and spaces, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. You can also follow me on Letterboxd. All those are linked down in the description below.
Yep.
Feel free to listen to us wherever you have a podcast. We're on podcasts as well, but YouTube is our spot. So find us there, subscribe, and then next week we're going to do that one scene from Sling Blade.
Yes.
And then we will continue with the Zed and Two Knots. So join us then.
Yeah.
And thanks for watching.
Bye, you guys.
Thanks.